as Sharif was mentioning there, still three more Fed speakers to come through this afternoon, 1:30, and then a few into the 3 o'clock hour. So we'll touch on that as it happens. Throughout the afternoon here, obviously, Fed Chair Powell and comments from the Fed in general going to take the headlines here this afternoon. At the end of the day, I mean, he really didn't say much we haven't heard in the past already. I'll show you a few here coming up. Just a quick check-in here on, wow, what a day it's been for this one. Tesla just bouncing along day lows right now, down 9.4%, Randy. What a day off of earnings and just a mess of an earnings report. Randy's shaking his head. Not a fan.
They're going to bounce back.
Said they're going to bounce back. And they will, let's be honest. Here's the overall market, back to 429 right now for the SPY, but inside range, really. I mean, we've been stuck between the initial high and then the Fed Chair Powell low for the last couple of hours here. That's overall how the S&P 500 is looking. Pretty mixed board, really. I mean, Tesla, the standout here, 9.25%. Been a long time since we've had a down day to that tune for Tesla. Eli Lilly here with no real significant headlines today, but down right out of the gate this morning. AbbVie along with it, 2+% to the downside. Amazon 0.5% higher. A few in the payment services group to the upside as well. Meta up here standing out as a little bit weaker than the rest. I was going to say stronger than the rest. Not the case. 1% negative. Microsoft, Nvidia, Apple, Google, all positive to start the afternoon. Let's get into a few things we were discussing. If you were with us in the pre-market this morning, I wanted to mention this. This was just one that stood out to me. Powell saying bond yields rising, the longer term ones he was referring to, doesn't seem to be about expectations of the Fed doing more on interest rate hikes. It's clear if bond yields rise, it will be persistent though. So, I mean, again, nothing, I went all through all of these, nothing that we really haven't heard in the past. Frank Caberna is coming up this afternoon. He was watching the speech as well, and he'll give his take on what that means heading towards the next Fed meeting. Remember, November 1st is the next decision that we'll hear Fed Chair Powell come out with. Obviously, it looks like it's going to be a hold at this point, just a week and change to go until we get that. We're into the quiet period, however, so all of the Fed members have to get their say in before the end of the day today. And it seems like that is the game plan. Couple of things to talk about here to kick things off. Netflix and Tesla were top of the list. As you can see, Netflix crushed, Tesla got crushed off earnings, guys.
Caught me sipping my tea right there. But yeah, Netflix has been a rocket ship to the upside. I love that graphic. Was that on this morning? Yeah. Okay, apparently that was there this morning. I just didn't notice it. So I still love it. I think it's fantastic. Strong move to the upside on Netflix. But oddly enough, it hasn't broken the range. We said this could be the case because it's happened before on Netflix earnings. When you have a big, massive gap in one direction or the other, that's the gap. And you don't break the range. Like the first 5 or 3 minute candle has not really been eclipsed, which is wild, especially in a day where we've been going top to bottom all over the place. I think the numbers were great. At the end of the day, the fact the subs came back in there is fantastic. Given what had happened going into earnings, there was a lot of risk in the other direction, and then you get the breakout. It's holding above 400, which is a great sign. Previous support that got taken down, and now the 50-period moving average at that 400. I think that's your line in the sand for at least the short term here on Netflix. This market does not want to bounce. Sorry, just going to quickly point something out here about this market not wanting to bounce. Apple at VWAP, we've been consolidating off this 15,000 level. It's the only position I'm in. It's bouncing off VWAP, but it cannot seem to carry through 177, at least not now. But we're in here in the 60s, looking for it to break out of this channel. Netflix has not had any trouble staying strong. It just has not broken that top. I'm skeptical that it's going to break the top today. I think if there's going to be a rally through that high, you know, it might be next week on Netflix. Inside day today, which meant I wasn't trading it. I really only wanted Netflix if it broke out or broke down, like something outside of the range.
Yeah, Netflix always has those kind of, we're going to talk about this on the recap show. Make sure you do join me today. I have a couple interesting graphics to talk about there about Netflix and what's been going on with that. We're still short in Tesla, so we'll talk about Tesla coming up, but I didn't actually realize Tesla was very next up. So yeah, still have this one in the short, this $6 in the money. We didn't trade any Netflix, and I don't think we will. So, yo. What are you up to? I heard you screwed up our computer up there.
That's right.
What was going on? Is it fixed or?
No.
You know, I have a show to do after this.
I had to do lunch money from here, Randy.
You know what I mean?
Just saying.
Show it.
I thought you were going to be a guest on my show, or on the show at one point. Okay, all right. I was talking with Randy the other day. He hasn't worked from home in a hell of a long time, so
That is
shout
true.
out to Randy
That is true.
right there as well. Of course, we have never worked from home. So.
But he's the only guy from the back that's, I don't think is ever, he's always in. I think he's been every day for the last.
Yeah. Well, the problem is he has 52 vacation days a year, so that's
well 52? Damn, that's not bad at all.
Well earned.
It's not bad.
That's a lot. Okay, what's up over there at the desk? I see Sharif shaved lately. I was hoping that he would, first of all, here we go, Tesla's coming back in. Was hoping he would grow that beard back, but he has not. Comments on that, Sharif? Is there a plan
I didn't even notice
of a regrowth there?
Denied.
Think, Brendo?
No.
No?
No.
Keep it off,
Yeah.
right?
No, it's working for you. It's working for you, definitely. All right, let's talk Tesla here. I was just reading through a couple of other things as far as analysts are concerned, because there was a ton today that came out, obviously, with their opinions as well. I mean, Wells Fargo, Morgan Stanley, Wedbush, to name a few. I mean, it was mostly either a maintain of what they were already at and then a price target cut, or negative in general. But yeah, not much to say about Tesla that was positive. Kathy Wood's ARK offloads 6.3 million in Tesla shares amid EV makers' Q3 earnings disappointment. So even Kathy's getting out.
Yeah, and a lot of people were holding out hope for the Cybertruck, right? They were thinking, you know, it's going to be a good positive cash flow injector into the company. You know, we've been waiting for the Model 3 revamp to come out. And then Elon Musk on the call yesterday saying, essentially, you're not going to see positive cash flow on the Cybertruck for about 12 to 18 months. And when they can ramp up production. They don't even think they can ramp up production initially. At its best, the Austin Gigafactory is going to be able to produce about 125,000 of these. We'll have to wait and see. Margins have also been an issue. Brendo, 7.2% gross margins now, comparing that to last year at this time, 17.
Yeah, and it was November 30th.
Yes.
They were talking about the Cybertruck. So just to confirm, this was actually yesterday. She was selling 6.3 million worth of Tesla shares. So going into the report. So, hey, she saved herself 9.5%.
Yeah, I was thinking that she would be selling into that report there this morning. We've only been short Tesla. We do have a poll up now, so please vote. There's already 91. It's going to be pretty.
It's not going to be close.
I think it's going to be lopsided. It's
over
40 right now, I think it's going to go. I think it's going to stay that way. But anyways, please vote. I voted to bring the beard back right there. Okay, so we've only been short Tesla. I'm actually still in the same trade that we had all day. It's never really broken through VWAP. We took the trade on VWAP. We're trying to wait to see. It's pretty much lined itself up right now at 223 with that high. So we're going to stay short. You know, that bottom there of 219, it didn't get SSR, but we think it's at about 1850 or so. So we'll wait to see 218.50 for an SSR bounce possible, but you're still down quite a bit now. I still think 215, this is what we talked about on our daily chart right here. The 200 period moving average is coming into play at 215. So I think that that's a spot where we could possibly bounce from. I'm just going to wait for that. I think we can get that here today. It's 219.70. The market is flat on the day. So if you have a flat market and this down 9.5, what happens if the market actually turns around and starts heading lower, which, you know, there's just more negativity in this world every single day, it seems like. So forget about earnings, which were obviously not great. NASDAQ trying to go lower. Tesla trying to go lower. We're 650 in the money. We also have Rivian trying to go lower as well. We're still in that short here too. So yeah, we're pretty bearish. We do have AMD to the long side off 103 again, but this trade, we hit it there. We got out 104.45 was our best out of $1.50. It did go $2. And now we're going to take it again right now on some of these dips. So for me, Tesla, we'll still stay in it, 650, waiting for 215. So no bids out.
These people in the chat there was an observation about the way that the poll is going in the chat that all the guys seem to want Sharif to grow back the beard and the ladies seem to want it clean shaven. Although I haven't, I was looking to see.
What? No, I don't think that's true.
I didn't think that was true, but I'm just saying that's the conversation that was going on. I actually like the other graphic better than the Tesla one because like if you look at the Tesla, like yes, the arrow's down on that graphic, but it also implies that it popped first before it went down, which didn't happen to Tesla. Tesla only went to the downside today. I'm not saying it's a bad graphic. Okay, Ramin was in my ear. I'm trying my best. I didn't mean to say it's a bad graphic. What I meant to say is it doesn't describe what happened to Tesla because Tesla only went down today.
Wow.
Whereas that was like, hey, we're going up and then hua dunk to the downside, like as if you got shaken out of something. Anyways, okay, well, we'll get to some stocks here. I didn't trade Tesla. I was in Nikola this morning. I didn't actually mean that as an insult, Ramin. That's my bad. I'm sorry. You guys do a fantastic job with the graphics. I just meant it didn't follow the way the chart went. So I was in Nikola today. I'm not in anymore, as you guys can see. I was long off $1. It went to 02, so I got out, reverse short, added short, and then that worked into 95. I tried the short one last time at 01, and then it broke out the top. I didn't reverse long off the $1 level, although I suppose if this was SSR today, I probably would be in the long right now. But I ain't. Because it's not short sale restricted, so I don't really think there's enough juice for this to go ham to set upside. But yeah, let's get to some chips next because this market, if we hold on to 15,000, I actually don't remember a time, I can't remember the last time, where you had this much whipsaw action from the bottom to the top in the market. Like test the high, test the low, test the high, test the low, test the high, test the low. If we get back up to the top, this is an epic day. An epic day where if you are not patient, like again, like we're test the bottom, so I just want to be long. If we get to the top, I just want to get out and think short. Because everything else has just been a choppy mess. But maybe it happens, we'll see. The chips are probably going to lead us there if we can get there.
All right, just seeing this MTC, a few people mentioning, just popping up here on a huge volume spike, so heads up on that one, I'll double check. But day highs and then some for MM Tech, I believe is that one. TSMC, meanwhile, we were discussing some of these semiconductors this morning. It was this one that reported. Everything else kind of holding up decently. That's NVIDIA, or that is NVIDIA. Ends up being not much of a trade today, kind of choppy back and forth for all of these, but TSMC, not a bad report.
Yeah, they beat on both the top and bottom line, but revenue was down. Revenue slipped 10.83% year over year. Net income fell 24.87% year over year. But the silver lining was that analysts say chip inventories at smartphone and PC makers are starting to run down. And so they're going to have to restock those inventories. And look, basically saying it's going to be the bottom end of the cycle, looking better.
Yeah, as we said, kind of a quiet day for chip stocks. MM Tech, just refreshing my memory here, which is MTC, is a Chinese software company. It's actually a lot bigger than I thought. It's almost 200 million share float for that one. So I don't see many headlines, though, guys.
I don't know. I'm more into smart tech than M Tech. I rep this smart tech, but not that one. TSM. I thought there'd be a better trade opportunity in TSM today, but it just couldn't seem to hold and break out above 93.5. Like it's been stair-stepping to the downside into a flat bottom at this 9.5. It's just, I'd like to see a little bit more activity breaking and showing me some strength. It's unfortunate, but sometimes, again, this is just like Netflix. Like the opening candle is the same size as the total range of the day. On earnings, that's not what you're looking for. On earnings, I'm looking for something to be breaking outside of its range, not trading inside of its range. So I guess that patience means you don't scalp it. I thought this would be a nice little hold and break out of this level on the daily, and then maybe it's the next couple of days or it can run up to $100, that kind of thing. It just hasn't happened. As far as the chips go, I was in AMD on that last push to the downside. Like it failed 104 when Fed stopped and then got to this triple bottom at 103. I got out, and this is example. Like why do you think Sean's long at 103? And why do you think if you were short, you get out at 102? Because this market is just going from the top to the bottom. So take out your shorts at the bottom and reverse into some longs. Now, I went long into Apple because it was at VWAP and I thought it was relatively strong, but it's still the same principle. I suppose if we reclaim the lows, this ends up being a short underneath. And I would say the same thing about NVIDIA. NVIDIA hasn't really bounced all that much, so this could be kind of breaking these lows if we don't take it. If we don't hold this bid and we go 14.95 breakdown, I think that could get a little bit nasty. But until we've really given up this low, the pattern has been fine. It's just, if you repeat the same pattern over and over again, when it breaks, you're going to be wrong. But if you were right 5 or 6 times, then it was worth doing it. So I'd rather be playing the anticipation of the bounce more than anything else until it's wrong.
Yeah, we're getting lighter and lighter on that AMD trade rate now, and just you know, we always get talks about how do you build the watch list, how do you build the sticky note. I mean, right here on today's sticky note, we had AMD long. We had 102 written down, and we talked about it where we liked it, but unfortunately the market got going real early, and we had to wind up buying 103s. So when we wrote that note, you know, the market was in the pre-market down here at 102.80. Then by the time we opened up today, we ripped up to 104 and change. So a fade back into the 200 period. There's 103 long, huge trade off the open, as you can see, and then we just fell right back into that 103 again. So I'm always going to miss trades in the middle of a lunch hour, because sometimes sitting here, sometimes not. So that was missed opportunity when Fed Powell came in, brought it back upside. But then we just had another drop at one more time back there. And look at that out, man, 50s. So you know where we're going to get out. That little bottom wick is 85. We're long at 91. So 10 cents worth of risk. We just took 60. So pretty good trade lining up one more time right there. But I think like the market being under the 500, being under the 50, it's looking a little bit weak. And then NVIDIA, that 425, has been like a little bit of a sort of a magnet to some extent. I mean, when it dips in, it breaks a little bit, goes down to that 423.50. Now just kind of hovering around. You know, on the daily chart, you do have this 420, 425. It's all right in here. For me, the much better thing to look at is this SMH. And when that, see, SMH, there it is right there. SMHNQ, there it is. This 140 level. So until we break 140 on SMH, I really feel like we're still going to be pretty strong here. So we're watching out for that 140 break on SMH. But so far, so good. We could have taken that SOX L long a couple times, and I know we've mentioned maybe a little bit of trading that, but it hasn't really lined up with anything here as far as looking at some of these lines. Here we go. Now we're back into 50 cents now into the money on this AMD trade off of a nice little spike. And look, man, you have to be a trader sometimes and actually hit your keys. And there it is right there. So let's go, man. We'll run it one more time as we'll put more in our pocket here, ending the day with, it's only 218, but that's a nice move back up. And if the market's going to act like this, take profit when you get a little bump like that. So I was waiting at 60s. We just got some out at 50s. I'll take it.
All right, we'll get on to AAL here, kind of hanging out. I was just trying to see if there was anything happened there, but American Airlines just hanging out at 1160. It's been a decent day. I mean, we hold that pre-market high on the pullback. Really hasn't done much since, but a decent report. Let's preface that. There was a few things that were questionable, but a decent report for AAL coming off what happened yesterday with United. Not a bad look.
Yeah, definitely. They beat on the top line. They missed on the top line, but beat on the bottom line. But here's what really stood out to me. A $545 million net loss on the quarter. Compare that to last year on the quarter when they turned a profit of $483 million. They are citing challenges related to higher jet fuel and costly labor contracts with their pilots. Transatlantic demand remains high for those that fly transatlantic flights. Compare that to Southwest and Spirit Airlines that don't. They're not taking advantage of that.
Not a bad look here, guys, though, in a market that's exactly flat to slightly negative on the day.
Yeah, there was like one chance to trade the long here, because if you didn't get it early, like there wasn't much of anything else. And you know, sometimes you wait for the earnings call, all that good stuff. I just thought it was a dead cat bounce today because AAL was so bad I was about to say the last few weeks, but it was like a dozen or so weeks on the weekly chart that were all red. So that's absolute abject disaster. But there was one nice little bounce here today. I was marking off this 1150 area, like the resistance point from yesterday. I'm like, once it gets above that, I want the long. So all that nonsense in the pre-market just sort of sat that out. And then when it made the break, it broke out, we added to it, scalped to the high of the day, and then trailed out. I did try reload and then said, what am I doing? This is not here. Like, buying the dip at 80. I'm like, the second I got in, I'm like, no, 5-cent stop. This is stupid. I'm not going long 80 to hold it back into 1150. And only now is it really showing some signs of strength off 1150. But if we're going to go, I'd rather a tech name off these lows than anything else. So it's a bit of a dead cat bounce, much better situation for them than their brethren. UAL. UAL yesterday was a very different story. So you got a bounce today in AAL. UAL was absolutely nasty. Like, it was down, it just kept going. And as a matter of fact, it is still looking very sick on UAL. But not bad for AAL. It's just you had to be in early off that open, and then from there, not much else to be done. You kind of hit it and quit it.
I just want to, look, we always talk about the Jets ETF. I won't do that again, but the thing is that here you go. I mean, look at this on AMD. So this is like the game within the game, right? Like, you spike up into that 50 level again, and you have to be able, if you're gonna scalp out and scalp in, this is like, this is the class. You know, like, you buying off some levels, you're getting out with 1-to-1, or this is about 2-to-1 risk to reward, right? Like, these outs are 9s, 8s. So we're taking about 10 cents and we're long at 91. So yeah, about 2-to-1. And then as it goes up, you start to take more profit. And then at that, after 1-to-1, 2-to-1, I don't really look at risk to reward. We just start to play off some levels then, but then you get that spike up and all of a sudden you're looking at your net. And by the way, I'm looking at the net and I'm seeing Tesla breaking hopefully to lows right now through 219. But you get that little scalp out right there. And that's important because look at the fade here. So we don't have to now worry about, oh, we just missed that top. So you got to be flexible about that. Here goes Tesla right now, and here we go. $7 right now back into the money on this one. So it's not $1, it's 7 as we're continuing to go to the downside. This is, patience pays, man, and today it's paying for sure as there's Tesla off the open. Still that, not even off the open. I mean, remember yesterday I said that the key time for me is like between like 9:45 and maybe 10 o'clock? Well, right there, 10:10. So there it is. We just wicked the bottom again and then bounced up about another $1 right there. So yeah, Tesla keeps on bouncing off this 218. Let's wait to see if the market actually goes down, where possibly Tesla might go from here. But nice move to the downside. AMD also made a move right back up. So you could have bought the 103s one more time.
This is ridiculous.
I know, it's up and down, and meanwhile the NASDAQ's not doing anything. So this is why you have to be very, very patient.
You know what scares me?
And specific, yeah.
I'm going to pull up the chart of TLT right now, because while this like back and forth bouncing is happening, you're actually trending down on TLT into the morning low. So if this breaks, all this song and dance that we're doing, rinse and repeat in the longs, is probably going to resolve in the other direction, because this is going in the other direction. A lot of people were talking about it in the chats. I'm like, yeah, we got to bring this up because I'm watching it too. That said, until it stops working, just kind of roll with the punches. While it's working, go ahead and do it. Like, you play the VWAP game, but if we break down from here, just get out, because this could be heading rather southbound. You know what's interesting? We've mentioned Microsoft a few times, but only the guys at the desk have actually told the story.
What story? Oh, all right. We can do that. Been a long day. This just caught my eye. I was reading through this story. Amazon and Microsoft apparently close to a deal that'll see Amazon as a customer for Microsoft and its 365 cloud tools in a $1 billion mega deal. Amazon expected to start setting up the system in early November. So that's of note, I would say, going forward for Microsoft.
Yeah, interesting. So the headline today was obviously AI looking to raise financing at a lesser valuation than they had previously. 90 billion was the previous valuation, 85, I believe, this time around. But this is what just popped up on my blotter here. Looks as if the FTC, and you guessed it, FTC Chair Lina Khan, not giving up the fight with this Activision deal, Brendo. They are going back to court in front of a federal appellate court in December. In fact, there's going to be a dual litigation. There's going to be an administrative tribunal trial as well. We'll have to see how that works out. Apparently, Whole Foods was on the receiving end of that kind of treatment back in 2008 when it was acquired by, I believe, rival grocer Wild Oats for $565 million.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. It's already been closed, we thought. We'll see. Anyways, kind of a choppy day here overall for Microsoft, guys.
You know, I genuinely don't know exactly how that's going to play out if they win that appeal and eventually do block the deal.
Very strange.
Have you ever seen, like, I have never, maybe this has happened before, I've never heard of a circumstance like this. A deal is done, the stock is delisted, ATVI is gone, you're expecting to get the cash in your account if you own it. I don't know, like, maybe, does anybody own ATVI? Like at this point, like, it's been delisted, but, like, did anybody get cash proceeds in their account? I don't, like, how could that be the case? How could that be true if they're still doing this? So what are you, just sitting there in limbo? Like, if you haven't got the cash in your account, you're sitting in the shares and it's not actively traded. You're just waiting for this appeal to happen. It's just a freaking mess right now. Like, that's insane. That's stupid, actually. Anyways, Microsoft, you know, it's really dumb the more I think about it. It doesn't even make any sense. Like, it's not fair to people that own shares of the company. Like, they could be doing something, whatever. Microsoft, 335 has been the level, but this song and dance that we're doing, like, I like the long above 335, but every time it's above there, I hate where the futures are at because I don't want anything long unless we're breaking out and holding above that 15.1, and that's just not been the case when it's gotten above 335. So I've more or less sat it out, but I've been thinking about the short on this, and suddenly it's setting up almost in the other direction because if you're underneath this 335, if we take out the lows, then I don't see how this isn't a bit of a fade as well. It's been pretty strong today, so I hate saying that. It's up 1.2% and the market's down. But if we don't actually hold these bottoms, it doesn't matter. Like, I don't like any big cap tech name if we don't hold on to 14.9 here. But if we do, 335, this one's been super strong. Quan Tran, fair is a place where they judge pigs. No, you're right. And don't get me wrong, like, sometimes, like, we're live here, like, I was just thinking out loud to myself because I'd never considered this before, and then just even thinking about it frustrated me because that's so nonsensical, the situation. I'm not in shares of it, so it's not like I don't have a dog in this fight, but it's just a little weird, that's all. It's the last reload I had on Apple. I'm not going to, unless it gets all the way back up to 177 and I can get a leg out there, I'm not going to reload this off the bottom again. It just feels as if we're pressing some luck here with these longs.
Yeah, the market's flat, so I feel like that's pretty accurate. You're sort of taking a shot here, trying to find relative strength or relative weakness, and I think we found a relatively strong name in Mr. Softy right here, up 1.2% and looking like it still wants to go. So let's see. It's basing out right now, has a good chance. I've written down here on the sticky note that we only really wanted 330 long. So we don't have anything. So if you're going to zoom this back out, we don't have anything long today. Instead of 330, it would have been nice to write down 332 because then we would have been into long. It bounced off there early. So again, trying to learn a little bit as we go about adjusting our sort of profit, our ins and our outs and where the targets are, because that gave 32 early and then bounced. So we could have really tried to respect that level again when it hit basically the next four times today, once, twice, 3 times, 4. So, you know, if it comes back into 332, I think you could find a trade there. I'd rather not go short this name. We're already short Tesla, which has really been printing. So I feel pretty confident just sitting in here waiting to see if we get back down to 332. So that's the long that I have. We don't want anything short. I mean, you get to 337, different story, but I don't think that's going to happen with the NASDAQ going like this. I really favor the short. So I'm in the short now with Tesla, and it's just breaking. It just hit the low again and bounced off 218.70. So far, so good there. Rivian downside. AMD saying upside as well. So hands off, guys. We talk about this all the time until the market tells us what to do. So let's go back over to the desk.
All right, rundown, as always, brought to you by Trade Ideas. Remember, right now, 2 weeks for $11. You'll also get 20% off that $11 if you use TraderTv.live at checkout. So go check that out right now. 2-week trial for $11 minus 20%, guys.
Check it out immediately.
That's right. Like we were saying, man, you get yourself a good deal, save $2 here, save $2 over there.
Yeah, you say wherever you can save it, man.
Save it, and then you
Get
go to
yourself
that.
an apple fritter. I mean, there's lots of possibilities. There goes Tesla right now, by the way, Neil. Just now, once again, breaking the low, making a new low by 4 pennies there. Now 218.52.
Okay, now it's.
It was just 57, so 5 pennies. Now it just made a new one right into there. So there was the past low. Here is the new low, 218.50. Now, did it go SSR? I missed it.
No, it just. I thought it would.
That was
it
close.
Just missed.
Yeah. You said it was 218.41. So,
Well, my napkin math
Yeah.
was 41.
wow. So that's essentially,
I mean, if
it's
I'm wrong-
essentially an SSR bounce.
Yeah, if I'm wrong, I did it in my head, so you can blame me. PDG Keeper, I don't know where I got this sweater.
Here we go, here we go, here we go.
I think we're taking out this low on
So it's
Tesla.
not 40.
It is. 40's the new low.
40s, yeah, 40,
It's
41.
now SSR.
So there, yep, so there we go.
It was
Our
10%.
thing didn't change, but
There it is.
did it just go
10%.
Yeah, but does it have to go? There it is.
There it
Okay,
is.
now for sure. Now it's
Okay, for sure.
10:01. I just wasn't sure if you needed that exactly, but hey.
I don't.
Go
Actually,
ahead.
I don't know. I don't know if you needed the tick below or the tick at, but it
10 is
doesn't
good
matter
enough.
at this point. It's now. Look, it's now SSR. This does not mean go long Tesla. Apple came out. It doesn't mean go long Tesla. What it means to me is any bounce from here is an SSR bounce that I want to respect. So if it's going to, whoops, I don't want to be short Apple. Did I have another stop in there? Yeah, probably. I don't want to be short Apple. But if it doesn't mean that there's an automatic long. What it does mean is any bounce from here has the fact that it's short sell restricted going forward. So whether that's 18 even or 16 even, if you look at the daily chart, like the actual levels on this thing, 200 period at 14. And then the last close down here, I think the lowest close here was 216. So 216 and 214, technically speaking, are the big levels. I was asked about ICU, whether I would get back into this thing. And my answer was if it does what it did before. And it kind of did. Like every time I've been long in front of the 1. It's broken, got to 98. Then I jump back in the long, goes all the way up to 120, or 122. I held some, and then it got stopped out again off that $1 level. It held 98, so it just held 98. And so this time, instead of being long in front of it, I waited for it to make its move. It broke the dollar and came right back above. So answer is like, that's a long-winded way of saying yes. But instead of standing in front of it on the way down, I'm only going to do the second part where I go long after it's trying to bounce back above. This maybe isn't going to care too much about what the market is doing. I don't think, but you absolutely never know. Oh, the other thing that I was in, it's still holding VWAP, but I haven't re-entered this, is AMC. So AMC was a decent bounce off 955 into the highs. Like everything, if it was holding support, it was getting back to the top. I reloaded it, and then it stopped out under VWAP. It's just, like, there's not enough strength here. Like, I probably need to see a greater sign of strength because this market is looking very, very heavy at this moment. If anything, resolving under these lows could mean a flush and we see a 1% kind of day, and I'd be looking for things to absolutely fall apart, like NVIDIA's breaking down.
It's holding 218.
And,
There's
Tesla.
big size. Yeah, come over here,
it
guys.
size?
There's some size. It just keeps on refreshing.
Yeah.
Let's just wait to see. Now they're starting to hit the NASDAQ. There's a lot of volume going off, and notice that there's a lot of halfway prints hitting right now as well. So please, guys, just be very, very careful if you are in this trade with me.
Oh, wow.
That it is trying to sort of, reject these levels a little bit there on TSLA. So just get ready, be careful. But here we go, Tesla bouncing off 218, $8 in the money for that one. Not only do we have that as an EV name, but we also have Rivian looking to see if this one can break lower. I feel like putting a bid at $7 is going to be the right thing to do right now. So $7 bid here on Rivian seems like, if it does get going, that's something that we like. But there it is, man. Here it is again, Tesla. It's the trade for me off VWAP. So we just tagged Brian Shannon. You can actually join Brian next week. He was away this past week, but there it is right there, tagging it at VWAP. Huge move to the downside. Here he is right here. Alpha Trends at Brian Shannon. Hit him up for any of these kind of trades. But I've learned a lot, and VWAP, and like I said, it's one of the things that I told Adara when she was on the show a couple weeks ago when we were introducing her. And I asked her about technical indicators. And if you're just going to start out, that's a pretty decent one right there. So there it is. You know, you could have waited for VWAP. I guess a VWAP break right there as well, but that's 941. We played it when it came back, and it hasn't violated ever since. So hopefully you guys are with me on this one. The problem, we got out right there at a 321 break. That was the 50 period at that time. But as you can see right now, it is a drop zone. And the number 2 stock, so number 1 P&L, the Tesla, number 2, AMD just now, and then number 3 is actually going to be Rivian. There, we just got out of AMD when it broke for flat on the downside. They're breaking through 103. So we actually got out at 102.80 break on the way down in. So good trade to end there, but always could be better. AMD not out. Well, we had 20% left on that one or so, maybe 15%, but still nice move down. And that's why we did that little bit of an education spot there. When it ripped up, we were able to take it out, at least a piece, which is why I think it's 15%. So able to take out a piece right there. So nice move back down, but again, stopped out of that one as we wait to see where Tesla goes from here. Remember, it's that 215 area. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, it looks like, I mean, I just saw TLT break that low of the day. So and by the way, this 218 is a battle. Like, it's just holding refreshers over and over again on Tesla, which is wild. But it's SSR, so it's hard. Like, you can't hit the bid without an uptick, so it's harder to break a level. But you did resolve by breaking the lows on TLT, and now you've taken out these lows on the futures. We're beneath that 14.9. I'm getting into AMD on this flat bottom break. I got out of the short, looking for it to hold underneath. We'll see. But now that the futures are breaking down beneath, it's kind of an easy out to get out like 103.15 or so if it breaks this channel. But this is a bit of a flat bottom break here. And I think there's room. Like, yesterday's close was 102.17. So you've got some room down to there. We'll see if it can't stair step down. I'd say a question in the chat about SoFi. I'll get to that in a quick little second. I haven't even looked at SoFi in a while, but I do know, okay, it's not that far down. I was about to say, hey, SoFi, if it gets to those low 7s, engage. Well, that's a level we liked. Now this chart doesn't want to load. Uh-oh. Come on. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to go to my trade ideas chart. This is, oh, there we go. It just loaded up there. So SoFi, it is where I think it's going to flush down into this 715 area. This is like the Alamo for SoFi. It's been trending to the downside. It's not accelerating today because, I don't know, like there's nothing really, like this is more of like the tech names and some individual names that are going ham, like the Teslas and some of the EVs. So this is basically just following along with the market. But if you look at the trend on SoFi, everything about this says, hey, we're headed down toward this 7 quarter area. There it is, the 200 period finally loading, because that's also the 200 period moving average. So it gets down there, I think that's a decent area to think about buying on SoFi, but until then, it looks like it's a bit of a stair step down. Trend is your friend, and right now, almost everything is trending the other way.
This is pretty epic, man. You just had a huge battle at 218 until it broke. So it was basically being resisted there for about 6 or 7 minutes, and then it broke and it tanked down. I mean, tanked. That went down to 65 there, and then they bought it right back up again. So I feel like this has another move back down for sure right now. Uh-oh. So this is where I am now biased to my own situation because we wrote down that we really liked Microsoft at 330. Well, we didn't write it down. We wrote down 330, but Microsoft down here at 332. It's right here again. So, oh man, this is where I'm starting to fight because yesterday we spit away way too much money, being kind of ridiculous, trying to see what Meta was doing. When we knew the market was going one way and we were fighting Meta. Do you guys remember that? So let's wait to see now. We're having a fantastic day today, needless to say. We have one red trade. This is the only red trade we have all day. This quick in and out on Meta at 318. That's it. Like we don't have any other red trades today. So I'm feeling a little lucky with what we've been doing so far here right now, but I am feeling those ways about Microsoft one more time. I have a feeling that Randy's here. I know he's not, but like there's always this creeping moment here for this guy because I think it was Kat that came back or Dara there.
Anytime someone walks behind us.
Yeah, that's why I'm always like, oh God.
I'm the same way.
Again,
I just,
right now, but
it's always sneaking up.
Yep, I almost stop. See, I'm double tucked there again. I thought he was there again. But this 332 for Microsoft, I think if you wanted to roll the dice, that's a decent spot. Now you're up 60 cents from there, but it did just come in and gave you that fill. So 332.20 came there. So I think you always want to take a fill in the 20s or 30s. I don't know if it's going to get exactly down to that level, but so far so good here on Softy. I'm going to stay away from going long at these bottoms.
Have you seen Moderna?
Yeah, Moderna's 80. I wanted to pick some up at
81?
85. Is it 85?
81.
81 right now?
What is going on here?
Yeah, that's pretty low.
Am I missing? We missed.
What happened,
something
Sharif?
on
The gym's closed or what?
Moderna?
Oh, okay. Oh, he's coming back to get his jacket.
He's on the green screen, like, dude. Yeah.
There he is.
You gotta understand, like, we're here live, like, this thing's happening, like, he's over there, he's distracting everybody. Come on.
Tesla went SSR, Sharif.
Yeah, Tesla's SSR, but Moderna.
217.50.
What the heck is going on with Moderna? Maybe like 80 on Moderna. I'm gonna look up the weekly chart on Moderna because it's been a while since I've checked this one out.
This
mRNA.
seems pretty low. I mean, obviously it was a $5 name before COVID, but
Yeah, I just want to have a look at the weekly before.
cherry-picking.
I don't want to wax poetically or anything before I have a look at this on the higher time frame. There we go. Oh goodness, that's a pretty big breakdown on the weekly. Wow, what's going on with this chart? Yeah, I'm gonna have to go even further
there was
back.
also, remember, there was also that new rule about how they've reduced the amount of time that these guys have for their drugs before they become generic.
Yeah, this is a bad breakdown.
So
On the weekly, you're going all the way back to like the breakout in 2020 breakout was at 100 and it's at 81, and the next support level after that is like $73 or something. That's not good. Yeah, so Moderna's having a bad day, and it's not even showing signs that it wants to get any better. I don't know if I want to trade this one. I hate like chasing a move like this when it's run out of steam, but it is a tough read. Like you do feel as if it's not going to be. I know BNTX is bad. Pfizer's chart's not fantastic either, but I didn't realize that was this bad today. So that's nasty. Maybe there's an $80 bounce or something along those lines, but that's a little bit wild. I'm only in AMD. I can say AMD to AMD, so that's headed back in. I think if it gets to yesterday's close, you didn't hit that. If it gets to yesterday's close, that's where I'd look for any kind of a bounce, like that 102 level. But it's headed to the downside, is what it is. You were just mentioning Microsoft. It was Amazon. That's what I wanted to get to, Amazon. So look at the stair-step action on Amazon. When in doubt, just join the trend. It's about to go red. So this is about to go red. It's already at that previous close level. All it has to do is one more bounce, give you a consolidation, short the rollover. That's about as clean as a curve as it is. And as long as we're underneath 14.95, I'm looking for short trades. So underneath that price level, I'm looking to enter shorts. Don't want to be fighting anything at this point. NVIDIA just broke too. Like, what is going on here? Yeah, hold on to your butts, man. NVIDIA finally broke to the downside. That's NVDL. I don't know why. There's NVIDIA, the third thing on my drop down apparently, because why would I want to look at it in the NASDAQ? Why is it still 3 times I have to hit enter? Thank you very much. There's 420. I don't like anything long right now. Maybe there's a small cap going. I'm going to look for a small cap so I can try to look for something that's worthy of a long at these prices because it looks pretty nasty, especially with what I see going on with TLT. Like, I don't want anything that's following the market to the long side at this point.
Yeah, there was something that I wanted to play on a break.
Netflix.
It's not an earnings name. It would not be an earnings name. Let me just check what SoxL is.
Roblox.
It could be Roblox.
That was strong the last few days.
All right. I mean, you already have. I'm short Tesla. I'm short Rivian. I mean, Tesla's $8. Rivian 70 cents. I mean, the Rivian 70 cents is just as good as the Tesla $8. So that's still working. The SoxL is breaking lower as well. feel like there was I feel like there was a name that I wanted there that I can't. Is there anything on the news wire hitting right now? No. Okay. So maybe it was just. I mean, you're already in AMD, so you've got that one. But coming back in that break, maybe it was just the bottom break right there of SOXL, because I was looking for something that was near. I mean, everything's near the bottom. The market is breaking lower here, so it's not not too hard to find some of those names. But again, was looking for something that maybe, we were just talking about Softy, that was really strong. Is it still positive here? It's still up 332, but there it is right there. So there's that level to work off of if you think it's going to break. But you're down to 14.9 now. So we already talked about this. Going long underneath, some of these bottoms, like underneath VWAP going long at 245, probably not a good idea. There's the market breaking a lot lower. It really does suck. Like, we were just up here 3-4 days ago. Now you're all the way back in. So the NASDAQ right now, unfortunately, you're going to have to try to hold this 14.6, 14.7 area. You're down to 14.9 and looks like it wants to break. You don't even have any support in this area. The support is down here, 14.7. So we could lose this for quite a while now, until you find some buyers. And honestly, Google's not till the 24th. Meta's not till next week. We had not too many great names reporting in the next little while. We have oil going on soon. Oil making the move up 1% today. USO, a nice move upside today. It was 1%. I don't know if it's faded here since. Let's see what it is. So there it is. Yeah, 2%, sorry. Wow, I mean, that's a nice move. That's probably part of this move as well. Oil making a nice move right now. The largest move of the day in the USO happening right in front of us as the market continues to make moves down. Look at the US dollar as well, making a move off 106. We do have Frank almost right. I was just going to say we have Frank coming, and in my ears we have Frank. So, I mean, here I am pointing out the US dollar, but a nice bounce off of 106 and change, starting to head upside right now. So, okay.
That was creepy.
That was, because I was literally just pulled it down.
No, Sean said Frank at the exact same time that Ramin said Frank in my ear. Like, it was like simultaneously.
Great minds think alike, me and Ramin there.
Let's get to the desk. Frank's always on time.
All right, good enough. Yeah, Frank Caberna, Director of Strategy. We're trying to center my shot, but whatever. Live TV. Frank Caberna is Director of Strategy over at IG.com in Chicago. Busy day, to say the least. They tried to squeeze everyone in here, Frank, to get some talk in before the quiet period starts. The big one, obviously, at lunch today, Fetcher Powell. Let's jump right into things here, because I'm a little surprised, I guess, by what happened or didn't happen with the December look now, suggesting that there's still about a 30% chance for a hike, when, I mean, basically everything he said was indicating that it sounds like they're done.
Yeah, it really sounded like, of course, always a mixed bag with him and with the central bank heads of the last several years, but definitely leaned more dovish. At least it felt like he went more dovish. And we'll talk about how that's played out in the rest of the yield curve, because while they might be taking rate hikes off the table, Brendan, in the short term, in the long term, yields are, I mean, the 10-year is knocking on 5% as we speak. And I think stocks are not liking that too much. But yeah, to your point, still a chance of a rate hike in December. At this point, no chance of rate hike in November. And maybe it's a little early to even be talking about the November meeting that's coming up on the 1st of the month. But that being said, this is the kickoff of the quiet period. They got everybody in today, and they're still actually talking. That's why we're seeing some huge moves up to the minute here. But after Fed Chair Powell's speech, just to start here, and then we'll get into the odds and get into the longer term interest rate move that we're seeing crazy right now. Yeah, a mixed bag. Speaking to the fact, and he's done this so beautifully, so often, the fact that the tighten policy that they've committed to in the last 2 years is moving inflation in the right direction. But at no point does he take rate hikes completely off the table. At no point does he say, we feel great about it. Like we got the market to where we want it, and that's that. And I think that at least the long end of the yield curve Brennan, took that as a little bit of a hawkish tone. But in the short term, and we could bring up the odds for November, they're thinking that he's not going to hike again. And this might also have to do with, he touched on the geopolitical piece a little bit. He didn't necessarily hammer on it because for the time being, I think he thinks, and the stock market obviously thinks that the U.S. is a little bit siloed off from the war going on in the Middle East. But yeah, 0% chance in November. In December, though, 30% chance. And while I agree with you, it is still weird that we have any chance of a hike in December, given what is going on globally. Also, a lot of people will speak to the fact that the Fed doesn't like to necessarily shake up too much stuff going into an election year. And the market feels particularly vulnerable to interest rates right now as 10 years hit 5%, and the S&P, NASDAQ, and Russell and Dow, Russell coming out of nowhere, being very sensitive to interest rates moving higher recently. I think a lot of people thinking that they're not going to hike again, and they most likely aren't, but still 30% chance in December. I will say, though, I checked this because I put together these projections this morning for you all here on the Trader TV network, and it was 40% this morning. So it's falling and will likely fall closer to 0%. But that will be, of course, a function of PCE next week. The FOMC on November 1st will, by the end of that first week of November, when we have the FOMC and non-farm for November, Brendan, we'll know whether or not they're going to hike again. It just feels like that last 30% in December, because if you go out to the FOMCs in the first part of next year, the odds are all diminished from that 30%. So this first week of November is going to be huge for will they or won't they hike again for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I just brought it up right now. It's still the same, 29.8% for November, or December, I should say. So no change whatsoever. So let's get into it. Let's talk about what the yields are doing in response to this. And as you said, it's the longer term ones, the 10-year and the 30-year. And I'll throw this at you, and we touched on it a little bit back on Tuesday when we spoke. I mean, is this not what they were wanting to see here? I mean, we spoke, for months and months and months about how the market just wasn't buying what they were trying to sell. Now we're seeing the correction or the move back in that direction for the longer term yield. So is this not what we should expect to see?
I mean, it's tough to say. The last year and a half, 2 years, has been so nuanced, so many different things going on. We're recovering from a pandemic. Inflation is screaming higher. Short-term interest rates are climbing. We're inverted in the yield curve. Now we've got this war going on in the Middle East. And it's always going to be hard to justify the central bankers. It seems like being a central bank head is the most thankless job out there. But I have to say, this looks like the healthiest way all of this stuff could have gone down, right? You have inflation spike over a year ago. Short-term interest rates spike to 4 or 5%. And now short-term interest rates, and you're looking there, yellow is July, gray is right now. And you're having those short-term interest rates sit in that level that they got to amid the peak of inflation fear. And a lot of people, when that happened, Brendan, thought, okay, the only way the yield curve can become inverted, the only way our economy can normalize is with a crash. That's the only way we've known our economy to normalize from an inverted yield curve. You go back to 2000, you go back to 2007, the last times our yield curve was inverted. Crash is all we know to get out of that mess. It feels like this might be the first time in the last few decades that we've had an inverted yield curve because of inflation or whatever wackiness is going on in the economy. And in a relatively healthy way, yields are climbing up there to meet that short-term yield spike. Now, of course, this has had huge effects on real estate market, the home building market, a ton of different sectors. And it's a tightened environment for sure, which has its effects on the economy. But we've got a stock market that's holding in decently well. And I have to say, this is what a soft landing looks like, knock on wood, for right now, at least, is short-term rates hanging in. Maybe they normalize down to 4.5%. And you'll remember the dot plot from the last FOMC meeting. Central bankers do think that they'll bring those short-term rates down to 4.5% in the next couple of years. But higher for longer has been the standpoint from them for a while, and now the rest of the yield curve is buying into that. And of course, this does create a tightening effect on real estate and all these different sectors. But the alternative, man, is a stock market crash that brings short-term interest rates crashing down to 0%. And so out of those alternatives, it feels like they're getting the soft landing that they're asking for. But that first week in November, like I say, between the FOMC meeting, what Powell and the other central bankers say, and that non-farm, it feels like, and I want to get your take on this too, because we have PCE coming up next week. It feels like inflationary numbers haven't been nearly as important as the employment side of things here in the US. So they're monitoring it, but it feels like they're getting what they wanted.
Yeah, it took a while to catch up, I think, in that sense. But now that it finally did, as you said, it's been all about what he has pointed to as the quote unquote sticky part, which, as you said, we're going to get a little bit of next week with PCE. This, just to kind of go backwards a little bit here, this UK number that we got this week, higher than expected. We've had other countries reporting similar or the same slight upticks once again. If we look ahead now to this PCE to come next week, there's a lot riding on that ahead of the next Fed meeting coming up in November.
Yeah, and thankfully, these numbers have been a little higher than expected, but they've been, exceeding those expectations abroad and here in the US by around 1/10 of a percentage point. Gone are the days of the huge numbers. And that's why non-farm, obviously, last month exceeded expectations 2- or 3-fold. And so that's not to say we can't see a surprise here. But to Powell's point, they don't have inflation where they want it, but they have it in pretty good control. And you see here his favorite inflation number that will be coming out next week, which is this PCE. And they've especially been looking at the core PCE, which never got as high as headline inflation got at its peak near the end of last year, but has just been a lot stickier. It hasn't really come down nearly as fast as headline inflation. You bring up UK inflation. Yes, it beat expectation. I think it was expected to be 6.6, it ended up being like 6.7, but that inflation was as high as like 11, 12%. And so that thing is still falling pretty fast. For context on this core PCE inflation number that we'll get next week, it's been as high as around 5%, and it's still in the 3 to 4 range. So not seeing nearly the drop off that our headline inflation has seen here in the US and globally, where we saw those peaks here in the US of 8, 9%, came all the way in recently to 3 or 4%. That core inflation is still sticky. They want it down to 2%. And the reason why 5-year, 10-year, and 30-year yields are climbing is because the Fed and everybody is worried that we're going to get not necessarily an inflation back to 9, 10%, but we're going to have this inflation around 3, 4% over the 2% target for at least a few years. And so it'll be interesting to continue to monitor that. But I would guess you would agree with me. These inflation numbers have become a little bit boring. They've only been missing or exceeding expectations by like 1/10 of a percent. Yeah. You see it's a nice knee-jerk reaction, a nice day trade. But by the end of the day, market really shrugging off these numbers. And maybe that's good for people trading around. But the employment data that'll come the first week of November there likely to be a little bit more meaningful.
Yeah, and it's interesting to note the sense that from a weighting standpoint, there just hasn't been the same reaction that we saw last summer, that we saw a year ago at this point in the reaction of these numbers. And as you said, they really haven't been coming way outside what is expected any longer. So great stuff as always. As we head into The quiet period. Frank, can you believe it? We're going to get an entire week of no Fed speakers every single day. Whatever will we do until the first of the month? But interesting week. It's been a wild week for some of these yields that, as you said, are basically at day highs and multi-year highs at this point as well. Frank Cabrera, Director of Strategy over at IG in Chicago. We appreciate it as always.
Thanks, Brennan.
For the record, the Frank bounce was just back there. And then the second Brendan started wrapping that up, the market head right back to the downside. I'm not making it up. I'm going to show you exactly what happened. You were making bottoms. This is Alphabet, double bottom, well, triple bottom technically on Alphabet. Bounces. It was about to break out. Local break. Thank you, Frank, blah, blah, blah. And then we're headed right back into the downside. The futures, whoa, okay, one of my charts apparently crashed. The futures right back into those lows. This is a 60-minute chart. So obviously, this isn't going to show you that bounce. It was very short-lived. On the 15, you can't even see it. There was a nice consolidation. We're still resolving lower, but it is trying to hold on to some of these levels. I was scalping along while holding on to AMD, AMD, whatever the heck we're calling it today, and I have to refresh my 15 at some point. But that's still working its way down into the 102 level. Still think it has a chance to bounce off the 102, but that was very short-lived. The market is still wanting to go lower and lower and lower. I'm not reloading Google. I figure if it was going to bounce, it would have just done so in the last salvo there.
All right, while we were here, just because 332 was really so key to Microsoft, like now we actually executing some trades here. So look what was very, very calm until now what's very, very busy. And we've just, honestly, we're up and down a cup of coffee right now. So now we're back short, 332.50. We just covered some there. All these are shorts. We did get stopped out of the short. We are also long. We got stopped out of the long one. So out of the short ones, out of the long ones, but able to make some money. I mean, we can sort of, it's hard to see, but right there. So bought, got some out up here around 20s and 30s. Then it finally broke lower. We got out of that one, so that was an L. Then we shorted the top and got stopped, and now shorted again and took out, I mean, these are at O's. This out's 15s, that out's 04. So now we just wait to see what happens here on this market. I mean, honestly, Tesla is really the one that's continuing to stay low, 850 in the money. It did make a real close break, 216.75. So like you're right into that 200 period. I have the rule of not buying until the third day after earnings. So we sort of did that on Oracle. You saw Oracle dip back. I mean, now I don't even know where Oracle is anymore, back to 109. So these are for longer term positions. So it's not, a scalp or anything like that. We're not in Oracle right now. Oracle's actually still positive today. That's really nice to see. But Oracle missed on earnings, fell back into this 107, 108 area, then ripped up. And then we bought it when it came back into this area right there again. So into some areas of concern. I don't ever like buying, the same day of earnings. It could go a lot lower, obviously, but let it sort of base out right there, 104, 105. I still like Oracle coming through right there. We still are on Tesla. We talked about that. And then Rivian bounced off 17. We should have taken it out, but we just kind of got greedy there. Oracle came right into the low of the day again. So we'll wait to see. And now that Microsoft's broken below 322, now we'll wait to see 332. Now we'll wait to see about that 330 bottom. I want to be able to hold the short. I don't have any more bids in. We are now, we're still 40. Look, man, we're still 40 cents in the trade on the short side. So we're 40 cents short right now on Microsoft. Let's see if it eventually gives us that trade that we want. But yeah. Sitting in some shorts right now. If it takes out 332, where's my stop? 332.80. Because we're 50 cents in the money, we'll get out. Well, we were 50 cents in the money. We'll get out for 30 cent worth of a hit. That's where the 50-period moving average roughly is. So that's what we're doing. I think it's the right move. I know you're still in AMD, yeah. So I still like that short as well. So we'll have to wait to see. But this market, I don't know. It's only 3 o'clock, so we still have.
It's only 3.
Yeah, we still have 3:30 coming, which is going to tell us where you want to go. I'm going to see if Randy's here. I could take.
We might be bouncing a little bit, but so Super SPAC Man gave this one to just mentioned in the chat. He's like, have a look at SPRU. So I'm going to assume, I don't know. I'm assuming reverse split. You guys tell me if I'm right or wrong. It's not acting like it is, but it's a huge gap up on this. But consolidation. Normally, you see this on a 15-minute, and you're like, okay, well if that breaks out, you're fine, $5. But the volume, man. Volume, 73,000, no breakout, no volume, no breakout. That's the thing, like usually the way this setup has worked, where something reverse splits and then runs, this is not how it's been going. Like it reverse splits, it falls a ton, then makes a bid, and then fills the gap back in. But that hasn't happened here, and maybe that's why there's no volume if this thing were to break out. So I would say not my cup of tea, I suppose, but that's just me. Like the volume's not there. It's not the setup on the reverse split that I think has been working, so I'm going to stay away from it. TLT is making a little bit of a bounce and a curl to the upside. I'm just going to be pretty happy if this can just resolve itself. Forget about VWAP for a second. Like if this can just get back to like 138.25, like this lower high, if we're really going to rip faces off, it doesn't feel like we're ripping any faces off to the upside. I'd be happy if this gets back to that level. And I'm looking for something to short on a pop. I wasn't a firm, took it out too early. I always do. Double bottom. If firm gets to VWAP, I think I like that setup. Siku. See? I looked it up. Siku. Siku is holding. This looks like a nice small capper that could give you a bit of an entry off this 150 level. Not a bad look. The volume's not great, but is it really good anywhere else? Nice little bounce off 150 one more time, and I think that looks pretty solid. So let it test, let it hold, and then Siku is on my radar there as well. Unity has gone green. I have to admit, that would be surprising to me if Unity's up on a day like today, but you know the NASDAQ's only 0.7 down.
Yeah, it's not, there's lots of names that are
It's not like
green.
it's that crazy. It just feels like it's a gigantic sell day.
AMD, Oracle, Starbucks, green.
Look at this chart on Unity. Like how many things are just holding the line? Like, if you're scalping, I can't even argue with why you wouldn't just be looking at yesterday's bottom on Unity and just taking the bounce every single time. Like that's ridiculous. Like how many times is this going to bounce off the lows? Don't do anything on a stock like this unless you're long the low, which is like 27.40, or short the top at 28. Like the chart's telling you, don't do anything else on a stock like this. So I wouldn't make a trade here because it's telling you go long at the absolute bottom. That's the only reason I'm in Google, but that's just as good. Like I'm only in Alphabet because of this low. Like it's just saying we're going to bounce here, and if we do, great, scalp it. If we don't, then don't fight the trend. Amazon, now you go. I saw someone in the chat say Amazon. Amazon's different. Like something stair-stepping down, I think you want to work shorts on something like this, right? Like this isn't really holding the same level over and over again for support. This is struggling to find support on its way down. If anything, Amazon looks like short the pop.
Yeah, I'm trying. I mean, that's exactly what I did today. Right now was short the pop again on Microsoft. So we just covered some at 30. So we just shorted again right there. That pop into we got short 60, 66s, 67, something like that right there. We have an average price, so 57 is our average price. And then it just came in and we covered 35. So we got 35 bid right there on Softy as it just came back into the downside. I feel like I'm very uncomfortable in this position, so that's why we're going to get out at 80 if it does break, which is why when it fell back in, we got some more out, and if it comes to 32 again, we'll get it out, and the reason why we feel uncomfortable in this position is because this has been the bottom and it's held, and right now we're making a mess trading this, just not making it, it looks messy. We're not actually up or down anything. Well, everything's going to be position pending. If this will be red if it takes out that top, which is the 50 period right there of 80, which it's trying to do, or if it comes in and we get filled at 32, then we will be green. So this is why I don't like it. I don't like these coin tosses. Right now, Microsoft is trying to figure out what it wants to do. The future's also trying to figure it out. So no, I feel not great about this one. So if you're in it, that's the trade right there. We do have to start to close out some of our Tesla. Tesla just went all the way back pretty much it hasn't really, and what I'm getting at is it hasn't really danced too much with this 50 period at all today. It was really choppy in there, but since this moved down, we came back, hit it, and fell again. Now we're hitting it again. So, we expect it to fall. If it doesn't, and it actually continues upside and takes out, I'm looking at this level right here. It's 218.75. So I feel like we can close our trade there. It's $8 in the money now. So to close it at 218.75, boo-hoo, I feel like that's going to be a good trade closing up there anyways. So if you're here for big trades, we had Tesla on the thumbnail earlier. We had Netflix on the thumbnail earlier. All I did was trade Tesla, not anything else earnings-wise today. I don't think Amazon, AMD, Meta, Microsoft, Rivian, Tesla, no. So just Tesla, but I like that VWAP trade there. It came back in. When there's a gap, look for VWAP. You know, we've talked about that a couple times as well. Shout out to Brian for that one. But, you know, there it is. So I feel like this is going to be a good out for me. Right there. Let's call it 219. So let's put that stop in. We can sort of do it together right now. I'll hold your hand, you hold mine. 219 and change. I just got to make sure because I'm clearing my blotter now to make sure, because if I have another stop, then this won't trigger. So 219, let's go a little higher, 06. We'll put that out, 100% of a stop, push enter. So there we go, 219 right now is the closing trade for me on Tesla. So again, $8 in the money now. I can't believe we're saying that. That's great. But that's going to be, okay, that's going to be the stop as we're trying to fly back down a little bit. We said we were bidding 06s. We just stopped at 10s there. I'm going to put, there it is. Cancel 06. Yes, sir. All right, we get to 13 right there. So there it is again on Microsoft. 50 cents in the money, Microsoft. 70 cents in the money, Rivian. $8 in the money, Tesla.
I just want to get this news out there because someone just asked, why did Duolingo drop $15 in a couple of minutes? The news is Google takes aim at Duolingo with new English tutorial tool. So if you're wondering why this just happened, the stock went from doing absolutely nothing all day long to falling all over itself. Well, if the king comes at you, that's not good. And Google is good, and Duolingo, I'm sure it's fine.
I thought they were coming out buying them.
That would be interesting, but it says it just basically says they're coming up with their own tool, which oddly enough would give them leverage in negotiations. But I'm not saying that's the case.
Oh yeah, it takes aim.
But yeah, that's not necessarily a good thing. It seems as if it's recovering. Just an idea. Like Duolingo has been having a fantastic run the last little bit, but it's obviously pulling back in here. Ooh, it's holding the 50 period moving average. So right now, the consolidation, look at that, 152.50. And then if you look at where it's holding and heart beating here back and forth is at 152.50. So the 50 period on the daily, let's see if it can hang on to it. I don't know if that's going to be the case. Obviously, this is the kind of news that's just like bad for Duolingo, but probably doesn't really matter for Alphabet. Right? Like oh no, Alphabet's going to be in something else that they're going to do good at. Like, so, like who cares? Yeah, like it's a whatever. These things are like whatevers for Googles and Amazons, but it's never really good for the competition. So Duolingo, not necessarily looking fantastic. The market's trying this little bounce again off of 14.9. This is it on the 15-minute. None of these bounces have taken hold yet. So, you know, in like 3 minutes, you'll see how this candle ends up. It actually might be a green candle, so we actually have a decent chance at bouncing from here. If we get above 14.95, I'd be surprised, but that doesn't mean it can't happen. So I'm scalping out of Alphabet if we break this 138. One more leg to the upside. That Siku, okay, it hasn't really, it's underneath VWAP here, doing that liquidity grab into 150. So it's getting pretty close, but the volume, man, there's just no volume on this thing. That's the problem. There's no volume, there's no bid. You can't force it. It looks good, but there's nobody really trading this. You know, like there's nothing happening on the stock. I want to see it like lick grab, recover, see the bid come in there, see some action on the tape. There's been absolutely nothing doing on this. I'm going to stay away from it until I see some action on that. And maybe the same thing with AMC. I thought AMC would get back above VWAP. This is continuing to roll over. So this is looking pretty dead as well. Got to stick to the big cap tech. That's where it's at.
Yeah, I feel like you're right with pretty much all of that. I mean, you're waiting. Oh, shit. Wow, there's a 2,000-point winner right there on Streamlabs. So we spun 200 right there, won 2K. Wish it was real money. But there it is, 2,000 points. Can I exchange?
It's not rigged.
Right there. Okay, yeah, no, I have a lot of points because I lost 500 to Renata that one day there. So happy to get it back there as the spin gods.
I got some revenge on that.
Rejoice. Okay, good. There we come right now. So hopefully Microsoft can eventually break. Oh, wow, Rob, thank you so much for the refill. Coming through, thank you.
Whoa, what's up with, whoa, what the?
Ramin got excited there about that comment, so thank you so much.
No, it's whatever just happened on the program.
I saw that, yeah, Brenda, she flipped over to Brendo. Brenda was like, huh?
Why are we on
Calm
this
down,
shot
I mean,
now?
calm down.
You can see my earpiece, my gray hair. That's a good shot.
Yeah. There we go right now. So here it comes in, man. Oh, Canada. Shout out to everybody here in Canada. No idea why I just hit that, but, you know, other than the fact that we are here live. And if you can hit the like and subscribe. I don't have the Sharif thing, but I don't think it's been hit today. So.
Like, subscribe, and share the show that takes
Yeah,
you to the heart
but
of
I
the
won the
market every day.
shitty one.
All right. So there we go right now. You can see right here. Should Sharif grow? By the way, let's go softy, man. We are just topping stuff up right now. Team Beard is absolutely destroying right now.
That's
So
closer than I would have thought.
We'll see. 65-35, yeah.
That's
As far
closer
as a
than
poll, though, that's pretty. I guess it's pretty close. Yeah, whatever. I mean, we'll see. It's a no, anyways. We just wanted to see what the crowdsource thought about that. So, all right, Rivian. We talked about being silly last time, that this was a miss possibly for us. It's right back in. We are not going to learn our lesson. We are going to stay with Rivian short right now. We are going to stay with a new low of day coming through, hopefully at 216.70 is the new low of the day right now. So we're hoping for $1 lower than this, and then we'll get Tesla going. Tesla's $8.50 in the spin it money right now. And then Microsoft, we have a new Dollar Club member. That's some nice bass over there. You guys install like a nice little subwoofer over there or something? There we go. Nice move down for Softy. It just touched the 60s. Needs to get a little bit lower. We want lower. We want lower. So let's go, man. Hold. Good job. Thank you, Jay Lee. He's saying, good job, Sean. Hold your shorts. Tighten up the stops. Yeah. I mean, whatever, man. We've already taken out, honestly, I took out half the Softy already right there. So fade the pop. There it is, making the move back down. 70-cent bottom for Microsoft. Honestly, I'm going to hold these shorts into the close. We're starting to break lower. We're spinning it, man. It's $9 on Tesla, 75 cents right there. And there is your official Dollar Club member right there for Softy. So, hey, man, you guys are seeing the trades. We have AMD short, we've got Google long, we've got Microsoft, Rivian, Tesla. They're all right here right now.
There might be some bad news hitting the wires in the Middle East. Like some.
Oh, okay, probably.
I just saw a couple of things. It's just a couple of sources on Twitter. So
thing is, the market's not moving.
The market doesn't seem to care.
I don't think that.
But like I saw someone put it in the chat, and then I looked over and I saw something about rockets and
oh yeah. They
that kind of stuff. So. We'll see. At the end of the day, the markets have not. Basically. It's bad to say this, but it's true. Like the tech names haven't cared too much about that. Like I'm watching Treasuries a little bit more closely, I should say. The market is trying to still do this little bounce. I want to hold the shorts, get out of the longs. So on that note, like a higher low just got put on an alphabet. This time, if it tags 138, I'm getting out. It just does not feel like we got that, or it gets close to it, I'm getting out. It just does not feel like we have that kind of strength today. To get off the schneid here. There are days that when you make this low, double bottom, you should be going, you're not going. Like this is the kind of bounce, like why aren't the shorts deciding to cover? Because they don't feel like they have a reason to. Like I'm guessing at that. Like that could be wrong, but this is very different from the last couple of days. Like that whole, hey, we're gonna go top to bottom and we're gonna reverse. No, like this is very much more, let's roll over and roll off the cliff, and then tomorrow we'll talk about 14.6. That doesn't really rhyme, but 14.6 is the local bottom, so I just kind of threw that out there. I don't think the NASDAQ's going to see 14.6, but look at the ES. It's the same thing. It's the range that we were sitting in the last week. It's like fade it, break it. Where is the bounce? I'm not seeing it. A 60-minute chart without any green on it, to me, is a weak-looking chart at this point. Maybe I can get a firm to short the pop. Oh, that's Seiko, by the way. Now it gets a little more interesting.
Do this.
Well, when you do this, a liquidity grab underneath, and then still hold the 150, okay, well, it means some people got out of their longs and got rinsed out of their longs. And if it can start to break back out above VWAP, then I like it. So it's done the liquidity grab underneath. The next step, let's break out VWAP. If it can do that, then I don't mind entering. That's a small cap that doesn't care, so we're not going to look at it. Ooh, Goldman Sachs and Morgan. I haven't even looked at the banks today. Goldman and Morgan made lows.
Ugh.
That's not good.
Yeah, Goldman and Morgan. Okay, so two of the worst. off the report.
No, but Morgan was the no.
Morgan was down 8, was it?
Yeah. Oh, Morgan was way
more
worse
than that yesterday.
Like Morgan was like rinse city. Here we go. There you go.
Are you adding? Like I didn't buy.
Hell no. I
didn't add anything.
I actually stopped. The bank that I was buying last year was TD. Like I haven't bought Morgan Stanley in a while, and I was going into TD. Shout out to our buddy. Like thanks a lot. Like ever since. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We have a friend at TD. He's a great guy.
I mean, all banks. He could have gone to any bank.
It wouldn't have mattered. But look at Morgan Stanley. Like, look at the rollover. This is the worst one by far. I can go back as far as I want in the daily chart, but this is flat bottom break. This is disaster. I don't know about catching a falling knife here. I think there's going to be a value point at some point for this. Let me just pull up the weekly chart for you guys, because the daily, you know what's bad? When I can't even zoom out the daily far enough, I don't want to waste your time, so I'm just going to pull up the weekly chart to show you these levels that are coming back in. So you're going all the way back into 2022 bottoms. That's down here. How about now-ish at 72.5? If that breaks, I mean, like you've already taken the 200 on the weekly. Like if you don't hold that this week, what are we thinking about? Like Morgan Stanley in the 60s is a buy. I'm buying Morgan Stanley if it gets into, okay, fine, it's mid-60s. If it gets to 65, I start dollar cost averaging the stock. That's what I'm thinking about. It's going to have to do something really nasty. So that would be extreme, but that's what I think about here. And it's wild, but allow it to make a base. Like it hasn't calmed down. It feels like if it gets to the 60s, that's a reasonable place. If it calms down there, then I go into it. And it's not really, I wouldn't be swinging the stock. I'd probably be buying it to hold for a decent amount of time, or just to never get out of. But that's a stock that I was like this. It was the bank stock that I've owned that wasn't Canadian for like a decade, and I haven't felt like buying it. As you can tell, it looks pretty nasty.
Yeah. Hopefully the stocks, some of these bank stocks, can recover a little bit, which was.
Well, they will eventually.
Yeah, you had J.P. Morgan. I mean, everything's heading to the downside today. The ES as well down. Look at the NASDAQ and the ES. NASDAQ down I don't know the last time we saw this. Look at this. NASDAQ 0.87, ES 0.87. Look, they're identical right now. That's been a very, very long time since that, because the components are just so dramatically different. That's amazing. So it's a broader market move right now. So I don't remember the last time we saw that. And actually, I am going to screen cap that.
Diamond.
Oh, no, I just hit screen cap and it changed. I need it to go. When is it going to go? 0.9. There it is. Screen. Oh, no, I missed it again. Okay, hold on a second. All right.
You just got to randomly do it. Yeah. Don't even try. You just feel like the force. You just feel it, and it'll happen.
I'm going to feel that right now. I'm going to talk about it. Okay. I'm just want to tweet that out. I don't remember last time we saw that. But anyways, okay, except for when it's at zeros, I guess. Well, even then, that would be hard to find. All right. Well, by the way, we do have a couple stops in there. Now, I'm actually going to change. Well, no, it's still at O's. Here we go, pushing lower. I feel like we might as well take a bid right now. This is the Dollar Club winner. Has nothing to do with the fact that, okay, well, there it is right there. So we'll put that now. It's officially $1 in the pocket, because that is that club take. But that's just because we bounced off here twice. So not thrice. That's it. We'll take it. We'll make sure that we do get a piece out, because it's going to, again, if we look back and we're like, why the heck didn't we take $1? It's $3.22 right now. It's a good trade for us. We're taking it out. We're putting some money in our pocket. Let's do that, right? So I got family to worry about. So right there, so we will take that out and we'll hold the rest. I can now cancel my stop. So I did have a stop breaking through the 50 period up here near this 332 flattish. So we were gonna get out half if it went back up, but then we got the golden fill down there for half out for the dollar. Again, the dollar doesn't matter. It's bounced off twice and then came down there again. Basically bounced off 3 times, went back up, came back in again. So we will take that out. If it continues to tank city, fine. What about re-looking at our Tesla trade now? So we have the stop. You guys know this. We all have the same stop while we talked about it. 219 flat. I still feel like we might as well respect that. Not much has happened. If you are quite heavy in this trade, we are not. Then, I feel like a break of this 50 period makes sense. It's not breaking above 218 right now, so why give up that extra $1 there? I wouldn't do that. So I would I would get out if you still have a pretty big position in Tesla. We're coming up to 330. We'll get the market on close and balance from Brendo, the rough estimate of what it's going to come out at. Sell or buy. I just want to see the direction. Right now, the number's not that relevant unless it's huge. But you know, Tesla making that move back in, I would say protect your neck and get something out at 218. But again, we're waiting for lower.
Always protect your neck. Yeah,
we always do that, first of all. But we are very, very close to taking out 217 again. I mean, the low is right here. So a take of 217, I think we hit that 216.78. Don't forget, man, or everybody out there today, that we do have a big one coming through for you, Load, is the market recap show today with at Trader Danielle. So we were going to talk to her all about this. I want to talk to her. She's a big Tesla shareholder as well, and she did talk about some trouble brewing around this report as far as she could see in the options market. So we'll get a check on that. Yesterday, Chris Bretcher from Simpler Trader brought up a very good point that the put to call ratio in the NASDAQ is still a high 1.2. So 20% more to the put side than to the call side. So you are seeing a little bit of a pullback now in the market, possibly, you know, playing out that thesis. So lots of ideas. Make sure you join me on that recap show coming through. This isn't the DXY. Is it not the DXY? We called up the DXY before. Yeah, no, I mean, this move down, I know we say it's a little bit dramatic, but it's not really, like 0.9.
The NASDAQ is not that far. It's the fact that we broke the range.
Yeah, we're down below 15.
It's because we broke the local range that we haven't been doing. That's all.
Problem.
That's what makes it feel worse than it is.
I mean, the DXY is down.
However, I got to shout out Down to Sky for this. Just notice the VIX is above 20. It's an important milestone if you want to share some thoughts to the audience. So if you follow the volatility index, the VIX above 20 has essentially been like, okay, we're in trouble if the VIX is above 20. And the reason I'm going to show you guys the SPY chart, like you're forming this wedge on the SPY. Like if the VIX holds above 20, I fully expect we don't hold on to, if it breaks out from here, we don't hold on to 420 on the SPY. Like it is the big wall. It was the breakout into the dip and again into this dip. If we do not hold, if volatility continues to rise, everyone keeps talking about, bond yields going higher. I mean, if the 10 gets above 5%, all that stuff. Like if that continues and we don't hold on to 420, I think you can see some sizable pushes to the downside. I just got into that CQ. It's not CQ, it's CQ. So CQ holds on to the 150. Just printed at 57s there. So there's your first strong green candle. Hasn't really busted VWAP, but if it's going to hold on to this support, then it can be a little bit of a late runner. The risk to reward's actually not that bad. Doesn't even have to get to the high of the day. Just have to clear VWAP and do something, and then it'll look okay. What else we got going on here? I was looking in the chat to see what else you guys are looking at. But really, it's just all these big cap tech and the flush in this market, if it can resolve lower. Larry Wanta, crash, say it, Neil, crash. I don't like that term because I don't like what defines a crash. Like your crash is someone else's pullback or someone else's correction. So I don't know, and I'm not smart enough to tell you exactly where it's headed. I can point to the next area on the chart that makes some sense to me, and that's what I tend to think about it. Like, is it a crash if Nvidia? I want the daily here. Is it a crash if Nvidia gets to 373? I don't think so. Like I look at the daily chart, that's not a crash if Nvidia gets to 373 or holds on to the 200 period moving average. It's a crash if Nvidia ends up back down to 270, but everything else is just holding the top end of the trend. That's the only thing I think about. Tony Price says, yeah, you don't think the SPY will drop below 416? Again, I don't know where the bottom would be if we make that kind of a move. But if you break this 420, logically, like at 416, I think that's what you're thinking about in here. Back into May, we had that bottom right around those teens. That would make some sense. We'll see what happens. But at the end of the day, just respect the trend. The trend is your friend. It's trying to break lower right now as we speak, but you're still very consolidative down here. That's why I don't think you want to force any trades anywhere. It's not about that. I'm just going to sit and see what happens. If Siku wants to go, fair enough. It's not going to care what the market does. AMD is not really doing much of anything in here. I'm looking for a break of 102. And if it breaks 102, you have yesterday's lows. I'll slap a trail on it if it breaks that 102 level, see if it can't get into yesterday's bottom. Like as extreme as this is, a stock like AMD hasn't even broken its low. A stock like NVIDIA, which we were just talking about, is NVIDIA going to crash? It's down. NVIDIA's down 0.4% today. And it hasn't even tagged the low of yesterday. Like it's wild. Like it just seems worse than it is because Tesla's down 10%, right? Actually, you know what? We haven't even pointed out how strong Netflix is all afternoon. Netflix, look at Netflix. Netflix is actually touching the high right now. Or, okay, not the actual high, but the afternoon high, which is 405. Like very close to that top. Netflix has held on to these gains very, very well. Like the 400 long is actually a bounce play on Netflix at this point. ARM 50, no it's not. Yes it is. Thank you very much, Aura Alpha. Shouldn't it be like Alpha Omega? Aura Alpha, that doesn't really. Anyways, thank you very much. ARM at 50 has been a wall. I'm on the bid. The last time ARM was here, this is the daily chart for ARM. This is the last time ARM was at 50. And that day, like just that day, it bounced once, twice. And at the close, it bounced $1 at the close. So it was off this 50 level. I'm going to get 3s, 2s, and 1s, and then see if it can hold on to this bid. So it's been a big wall on ARM. I'm not surprised ARM is down. I'm actually somewhat surprised ARM is still at 50. Because if you go back to when this IPO'd, I'm fairly certain I said, actually I'm 99% sure, that my comment was, by the time you get to the end of, or middle of, I think I said middle of October or end of October, this stock would be in the 40s. That was what I thought was going to happen, and it's still, we're in the middle of October and it's at 50, which is surprising to me because 100 PE is a little ridiculous.
100 PE, yeah.
It's actually more than that.
NVIDIA time.
I think it's got a higher PE than NVIDIA, I think.
ARM?
I think so. There was a point on the first day that it did. I don't know if it's still true.
Yeah.
But on the first day, for like a couple hours, it did. I know they both come back, so I'm not sure if that's still true.
What is ARM's price? If it's still above 50.
It's 50. It's literally 50.
Okay.
Literally 50.
Then its PE might be higher, actually, then, because of the prices dropping.
This is silly.
Okay. I mean, where Microsoft continues to fall, man. Everything's falling down. The only thing that's not is Tesla, and we're about to get out of this one anyways. We did talk about where we were going to get out, 219 break. Looks like that's happening a little bit quicker than we had hoped for. Nice move back for Tesla. Get ready. And we also did suggest that if you were getting nervous about this trade, where to get out of it, right? 218 flat, we talked about that. It was barcoding there, gave you a grade out. There's the 50-period break. So looks like we will close this trade up a paltry right now. Let's do the props. There we go. Did we get out of it? Yes, we did. So there it is, $7. So hopefully some of you guys have that. And then here we go, man. We're doing it again right now. So here we go. We bought that dip in AMD. So let's see if that can get going now. We've talked about wanting 102. 102 is finally coming in a little bit there. You know what? Now Tesla's falling back a little bit to 218.50. This is part of the game, right? We can hold, here, I'll show, where's Tesla? Sorry, I thought we were still on Tesla. You know, you can hold, oh, wow, okay, big move down there. You can hold all the way down in, but if you don't have outs, you're never gonna be able to get it, but there it goes. We get out at 219. Looks like we might have just pegged the very top there, and then there is the move right back down. We don't wanna go long. We don't wanna go long Tesla, but getting out there is pretty okay. Hopefully that doesn't look like, you know, the next move down is all the way back into there. Then that would look pretty silly, but AMD. So we've reloaded this one. This is the name that we've been long before off. That's still Microsoft. Go to AMD. There it is. Okay, we've been long twice off 103. Got out both times. This one was never in danger. One of my favorite trades. My favorite trade's the Tesla one, but this was pretty cool too because it came in right at the right time of day, 9:45 into the 200 period. Then we had that huge 250 move to the upside, which it sucks that we don't have more outs there. But because it was at the beginning of the day, we took dollars and everything and not held for that big move, but we did hold a little piece, which we got out at 104.50 for $1.50. And right now we're back into the long one more time here on AMD. Basically our only position that we have left. But Rivian still at that level. Probably should get this one out. Microsoft still $1 in the money. And obviously having a little bit of FOMO there because there's Tesla. We should have just waited for the closing of the day. but we didn't. So Tesla, again, boo on that one. Back down to 218, give up $1, but we only had that 10% left, but still. Not great, but pretty happy with today's trade.
Arm broke.
Arm broke, okay.
I got 90s on the other side, so I'm out. You actually have to, if you're trading at Day Trade the World, you actually have to cover a long and with a separate order go short. You actually can't reverse from long to short in the same order. That's because every short sale has to be coded a short sell to the market. It's just one of those weird things. So you're going to see a couple of overlapping arrows. There's a buyer at 49.84, but I was long right in front of it looking for that bounce. I actually had my orders layered out to the upside up to like 50.5, and then the second it broke, I'm entering into the short position. I have a trail on AMD, and I'm still in that Siku. But while that happened, Alphabet got right back up to this 138 area, so 137.90. I said it didn't feel like this was strong enough to break the channel at the time, so I just got out. It's bouncing off the lows, but it's not really breaking out. I decided I wanted to be in that arm, which is a bit gimmicky, but AMD just trailed it as well. So it could be wrong. We'll see. We're in the AMD short, and then we trail out of it, get out of Alphabet because I wasn't thinking we had the juice to get to the upside. It'll be a win, but if we get to VWAP, I'll be hating it. Bigfoot is 3M a value trap? Look, I have not been pouring over any statements on 3M. Like, I'm not going to say you tell I've been looking at the balance sheet or anything like that. I can tell you in this market, you got to be very wary of just simply only looking at things like dividend and PE ratios. Look, they're not, like, those are important things, but it's not always that simple because a lot of times it can convince you that a falling knife should be caught, right? Like, I've seen and read that Pfizer has been a good value since like the mid 40s. I like it in the 20s. That's just me personally, but that's just continuing to fall. Lots of things look really good when they start getting to the downside like this, because you start saying, "Hey, man, but if you liked it at this price and it's a good company," I don't know. I'm always wary of things like this when they haven't shown you signs of strength. The chart has shown you 0 signs of strength. So I'm not seeing it. Again, I've not even looked into this company for even more than 2 seconds. So I'm not here to tell you that I've looked at the balance sheet. I'm going to get some bids out on ARM because on that reversal, obviously you have to do that. But just be always careful. Like, so many things pay good dividends that really you don't want to necessarily be holding on to if you look at the chart. Like, you've just been rinsing the entire way down. That's what 3M looks like to me.
I was just looking at the earnings. There's not a lot. There's Western Alliance tonight. You know, not much else. I mean, I have it right here. Here's it from Market Chameleon. There's really nothing after market close. The biggest one is Intuitive Surgical, and then after that, CSX. That shouldn't be too.
I thought there was another bank. I thought there was 2 regionals.
There could be some tomorrow morning. Well, there was Western, right here, Western Alliance Bancorp. So that's the big one. And then we could check tomorrow to see what's coming before market open. Always sort by market cap. American Express coming tomorrow, Schlumberger, SLB, Barclays coming, Regions Financial coming tomorrow. So yeah, all tomorrow morning, not too much after hours, but we have a lot to talk about. We have Ms. Danielle Shea coming through. We have the Tesla trade to talk about. We'll see how that sort of finishes up. And we can also talk about what's going on right now by firing off some hot dog cannons. What a difference a day makes, man. We have one red name today, and that was our very first trade of the day. It's this meta trade. It's the only red trade on our mark all day. So that's going to be a good one. And I mean, if you've been taking them with me, here we go again. There's AMD. I mean, there's a nice little long back up to the upside right there. So that's definitely working. We're long AMD at 26. You know, you can't, we are patient with it. It's too bad that I didn't decide a little bit earlier. I was actually filling up some water to get ready for that closing show. Uh-oh, Pentagon, yeah, more stuff.
I didn't know that
right now. But there it is right there. That was 102 flat. And again, we wrote it down on the sticky note that we wanted 102 flat. So that came in. I feel bad that we have 20 cents too light on it, but that's okay. We're now out of 40%. Again, the fact that the market is doing this right here, I don't think the long is right. So we'll scalp it out. We're out of 40%. And again, our out's going to be a 102 break. So that's 20 cents. We just took a piece out at 50. So 20 cents both ways, 25 cents both ways. Hopefully we'll be able to get a move back higher now so we don't give an L on this trade. We could take out another piece to guarantee profit, but let's just see if we want to continue that upside move. We're above the 50 period. Oh, did we get that from Brendo? I must have missed it.
240 to buy.
Buy side. Okay, yeah. So 240 to buy. Okay, that helps out this position, I guess. Tesla's still at 218.75, so I feel okay about that out right now. But Rivian, we should probably just end that trade.
Yeah, and that little bounce that looked like it could lead to something on CQ, it's not going.
25.
Like, it just got to VWAP and then immediately stalled out. Like, this is not, I'm not liking the action. I thought the tape would pick up a little bit, so, you know, we'll just get on the offer and see if we can't get out of this stock. Because if it ain't moving, you don't want it. ARM broke a major level, so I like that to the downside. Bigfoot, what jokes is Bigfoot just asked me, like, is there a technical level on 3M where there's a bid? And I was like, I don't know, like, how far can you go back on the weekly chart? 67. Because you've already broken the big ones. So you're really looking back to like higher lows from from the COVID crash. That's what you're thinking about here. Like, that's wild. Let something make a base when it's doing that. So ARM's starting to come to the downside. With only 10 minutes to go till the imbalances come out, like, this is sort of how far is it really going to go in a short period of time. So 49.5 seems a reasonable target. I think eventually this stock is headed to 45 bucks. Just not going to do it today. That's obviously going to be true. Ponzi, no one broke their arm. ARM just is continuing to break down. I'm willing to bet Cart's having a bad day and just as bad a day. But let's go to the desk. Time to handle some business, Brendan.
Brought to you by IG.com. Trade Forex pairs like Euro USD with spreads as low as 0.8 pips and zero commissions at IG. Terms and conditions apply.
Very consistent. All right, so AMD has fallen back down. You make sure you check that out. You scan that, get all the details for it. Okay, here comes AMD. We just got some more down there at 10. This is a fine price. Don't mind this. Let's just see where we go from here on AMD. Again, coming in, let's wait on it, see if it does hold. It's trying to hold this 102. We're long at 102.16 right now, so we always take at least, well, we try to anyways, take at least a dime on a piece, and then we're just trying to go 1-to-1. So we're, you know, again, long at 16. It's going to be about a 15, well, I guess more than that, about a 20-cent hit with slippage down through 102. So as this market's getting more and more red, you could see that, you know, some of these names that I like to the long side probably won't hold up. So, you know, learning lessons, even though we're really happy with it, I mean, we have to be happy with today, you know, learning mistakes right now, like, for example, even though we like this long on AMD, you know, is it really worth taking it in the face of what this market condition is, right? And so you could do two sides of TA. One is on the stock itself, and I really like the 102. The other one's just on the market. You're not going to get AMD strength in a completely weak market. So that's why we're trying to scalp this play out as we go. And it's also why we reversed into Microsoft. We had 332 as a really key level there for Microsoft. It's now in the money $1 on that fade. But again, just switching up your ability there on the fly has really, really helped. You know, understand that we could have drastic moves into the close.
We're going lower again.
Into the close. Yeah, there's no reason why this market should bounce. So
I also got out of CQ, CQ holding. I just popped it on the offer and threw it all out at 58. So I'm in and out 57 and 58. It's not moving. Like, look at this thing. It's like, it could have gone. Like, it looks like that would have been a good entry, but it's not because the volume didn't really pick up. You guys can see that. The wick bottom, the consolidation, but without volume, you cannot be involved in something like that. ARM on the breakdown. It just got through 80s, 70s, and 60s, kind of turning around here with 7 minutes to go. If ARM opens underneath 50 tomorrow, I only want to be short under 50. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I don't want to be long unless it's above the $50 level. To me, an IPO finally breaking its range to the downside. Like, if you look at what happened to, oh goodness, not Smile.
yeah, what?
No, I'm thinking, what was the other one?
Cart?
Instacart. If you look at what happened to Instacart, once Instacart broke the range to the downside, you was pretty much forget about it. Okay, my charts have been having this kind of a day. It'll load eventually. When it broke $30, it was absolutely nasty, and all you had to do was start working the short side.
AMD, I mean.
Yeah, now this chart doesn't want to load at all. There you go. once it was through that 30, look at the steady churn to the downside. Like, you only want to be short this name. It's now made a bit of a bottom, but forget about it. That's what I think about AMD tomorrow. It's just going to be nasty. Taking care of business, Berkshire stock. Yeah, we don't really look at that one in a while. TLT's also, like, that's still going to the downside. Like, if you just looked at treasuries, no indication that there was going to be a bounce. Like, I'm glad. It's a good thing we got out of Alphabet there, but really, in absolute hindsight's 2020, but this should have just been a short. Like, it was a bounce. It looked like it was stalling out. Hey, this is no longer working. It's not strong off this bounce anymore. That could have been a short trade off of 138, but it wasn't. It was, let's get out of the long because it's not working. But that could have been a reload, not a reload, but that could have been an entry to the short side, which is much easier. Look how long it took to play a 50-cent range, and then in 2 3-minute candles, it's breaking that same 50-cent range to the downside. So I'm going to hold on to ARM. I think this one has a chance to continue to go. Big break at that 50 level. I'm on the bid 49.50, and then we'll see how far it drops after that.
All right, Ken H said the classic Katina change up right there, the CCC. But yeah, AMD did CCC downside right there, like we said. So we will do the CCC again just to see if it does want to hold through 102. Remember, I said we're a change, man. We're not going to do what we did yesterday and just try to fight something because it's at a key level. So AMD downside, we should have never been short or never long in the first place, despite the level. And again, we did the same thing on Microsoft, where we flipped over to the short. Now we're in the money, guys, $1.50. So like, from what was nervous Nancy about that position has turned into cash money for Microsoft, as there it goes. Huge move to the downside. Obviously quite pleased with the performance here today on Microsoft and other names. So we'll wait, man. A little bit of a break higher through 102, then we'll get out. I was just trying to hold this, see if the market does continue downside. Hey, we just went like, I don't know, almost 10 cents in the money, but here we go back upside right now. We're going to give this to 102.11 or something like that. Give it a little bit of room. I know I'm not pleased with it either, like we said, but we'll wait. Should have never been in that trade. So AMD is still a positive name. We cannot lose money on this name today. We could lose money on this trade, but on the day, no. But there it is. Okay, so nice move back up. It's 346. Oh, yeah.
3 minutes, 4 minutes.
Yeah, the imbalances are coming.
And you know what's actually funny?
Not very smart to be in these.
I meant to look at the early look imbalances, but I did not. Like, individual names. On a day where you're moving around this much, sometimes you do get some action, but there's nothing crazy. Like Nokia, they reported, but yeah, I mean, 800,000 on Nokia, like, that's a $3 stock. That's nothing. Enbridge, every single day for, I want to say, at least a month, Enbridge has had an early look imbalance. It's never really mattered all that much. So there's nothing, like, there's nothing crazy that we're seeing on the imbalance locator. I got the 50 fill on ARM, so this continues to flush. This one could be nasty tomorrow. I mean, the market could be nasty tomorrow. Yeah. But again, it finally rolls over, and with that 100 PE, I just feel as if it's going to flush. I don't even know when they report. I feel like it's, you know what, I'll have to look it up. But I want to get to the super chat. I just realized I don't know when ARM reports. But Ian Rispetto, Caterpillar at 252 looks good for the portfolio long. I feel about this like everything else. Patience is a virtue. Caterpillar has been a great stock. But look at the weekly chart on this. Now I've zoomed so far out because of 3M. But it is a good level, 252. Like, that's where it broke out from. But in the grand scheme of things, I don't know, does it not have more room to dip to the downside? Like, do we feel good about any of the builders right now? I'm chilling on this. I own it myself. I'm thinking almost deeper before I want to buy more of it. I'm super patient in this move to the downside. I feel is going to be the way to go. Oh. Joshua Mallory saying Coinbase. I bet you every chart I pull up, I'm like, should have been short Coinbase, should have been short this, should have been short that. Thank you guys for pointing out that ARM was at 50. I had actually pulled that off my alerts because it was up at 52. Coinbase is not doing that bad. It's only down 1.3%. That's actually not that bad. Usually when the market's feeling heavy, I'm thinking Coinbase dump. But one of these days, Coinbase is going to break 70, and we're there for that day. Promise you that. Coinbase breaks 70, I'm there for that day.
Damn it, AMD went back up there. We got stopped. I was trying to hold out. I didn't even realize we're this close to 350. Was trying to hold out for 350. That's what you might have heard me say, come on, hold out, hold out, hold out. But it does make that move up. So we're going to wait for that. Oh, that's still Microsoft. Microsoft's still $1.50 in the money. That's bouncing as well. It's just you're very, very close to getting all of these imbalances. Tesla went down to 317 again, 1730. Now right back up to the upside as some of these names continue to go. I just wonder if it's going to come a sell imbalance. I'm going to take one more position here, just a small one in AMD. Like I said, I don't want to go back and forth with this name. I feel like there could be a decent sell coming right now in just a couple seconds. So when you're feeling something, you don't necessarily take a lot of risk on that. So here we go. We'll try to stay short. There's only one more minute. Probably in this a little bit too early, to be honest with you. Giving this the minute might have been the right thing to do. But here we go. AMD trying to go back up to the upside. We'll see, man. It's supposed to be a couple million shares to sell. You had not million shares, sorry, notional 195 to sell. So it's not a huge number by any stretch of the imagination. So I just wanted to, we should have put the trade on now into this close. It could be a huge rip up. So let's wait to see what's happening right now. Microsoft taking some names back up to the upside right here as well. So yeah, okay, here we go. Only a few seconds more to go. Let's see where we go from here on this market. It seems like it wants to go downside, or upside, sorry.
That's what I'm seeing too. Like we're right back. We just got tagged at 49.50 on ARM and it's right back into the 50. I'm not letting it take out this 50. I had to stop initially at 50.10. But now it's just at the even, especially with the imbalances coming in. Hampton's Trader long, that's a great long. 49.55 is basically the low. So it went that 1% extra and now it wants to bounce up. Imbalances are out, and we already knew Enbridge was going to be big. What else do I see? Intel's a buy at 1.2. That's going to pair off. It always does. AT&T, 1.3 million to sell. Matters because they had earnings. AAL, sell. 1 million for AAL. Cisco is a buy at 900,000. There's Apple. That's a sell of 750. What else is there? Pfizer, that's not big enough to matter. Disney's a small, that doesn't matter. PG doesn't really matter. It's HPT, that's cheap. Not really seeing any other big cap tech names. Marvell's there for 400,000 to buy. AMD's way down there at 400,000. Not a lot. It was just Apple, really. Amazon's a small buy at 360,000. So overall, it's a 520 million buy. That's a nothing burger. 520 to buy. That's a nothing burger right there. And look at this. Hampton's Trader. Wow, congratulations. What the heck?
Wait.
Way to ring the register. Like that's. I don't know why you thought 49.5 was going to be the dip on ARM, but like it took 15 minutes to go from 50 to 49.5 on the short. And it was right back there in 5 minutes and then just stopped me out for the last 10%. So that's a great bounce. Whatever made you hit that key, that's a good one. I actually thought this was going to continue to flush. Like it felt like one of those days. Like it just felt really heavy today, and it felt like you'd get some continuation to the downside on these flat bottom breaks. This kind of spoils my I'm going short on ARM tomorrow speech. Because it's above 50, so like obviously everything about that speech is now completely useless because it's above $50.
Right.
Who keeps buying this thing? I don't understand. Makes no sense to me. I don't get it.
People like it. I mean, it's a good stock.
But what's wild about this is like AMAT's getting trounced, ASML is getting trounced. I mean, everything else in the chip world is getting punked, and some of those are at halfway decent valuations. Meanwhile, ARM has a ridiculous one, and it's holding bids. So anyways, it just doesn't make sense to me. That's all. It doesn't matter. Amazon apparently ripping faces off. There was nothing on the imbalances to me that would indicate
the market's going back up.
A big bounce. That's not ripping faces off, but it is a good bounce, almost a full dollar on Amazon. Amazon will end up potentially closing green. I don't want to jinx anything. Amazon is up on the day. That's not bad. I mean, there's a few names. Like if you look at this, it is really not that bad. If I sort my quote board, I'm going to sort it this way and show you the positive names in here. But there's a few names positive, and if you look at it, NVIDIA is flat. Apple is basically flat. Who else is in there? Palantir is almost flat. That's not bad at all. That's a stock. I'm only saying it that way because I just realized I have not looked at Palantir today. For the first time in about a month, I have not even seen the chart of Oh, I did this morning at 17. That's a lie. Probably should have been paying more attention to the Palantir chart, don't you think, everybody?
Is it making big moves or?
Look at the 17 level on Palantir. So what I'm going to write on my iPad, Palantir 17, and it's going to be obvious what I mean. There are buyers today at 17 on Palantir. You could have just been scalping this every single time. Half a dollar, 40 cents, 40 cents. At the end of the day, 15 cents, but who cares? You're risking 3, so that's all right. Like, look at that. That's what you're looking for as a trader. Shout out to anybody that's actually trading Palantir. Just news, Palantir's S&P 500 inclusion will be exciting. I promise you that. I don't know when it's going to be. There's obviously conditions that they have to meet. So it's like once that happens, I mean, they're going to get in there. It's just a matter of the when. So this year, next year, I don't care. That's going to be wild. It's not Tesla, but should be good. You saw what happened with the last one was Airbnb.
Yep.
That was great for a couple of weeks in Airbnb. So we'll see what happens with Palantir. Again, I don't know when it would be, but it's going to happen eventually.
All right, we're out of everything, man. We got out of some Rivian right there at 17s. Unfortunately, our Microsoft goes all the way back up there. But again, we actually this part we are holding 25%. So that kind of sucked because we were at that bottom. But again, it's honestly my bad because we should have been more conscious of the time. And honestly, I didn't even realize that we're getting that close to 355. So or 350, sorry. So, you know, we should have took some out there because you can't control where these imbalances come from, right? And so that's the one thing there. But hey, just an excuse. At the end of the day, AAL continues to be a sell as that makes the move down. TLT has been disgusting, obviously, as we talked about the Treasury, and that's down, what, 3%, 2% now today. So that's obviously a big move for the TLT.
Nasty.
You could see from 102, not even, well, whatever, every price just straight down. Like this week has been disastrous. 88 down to $82. Do some research there. You may want to buy some TLT.
Oh, man, who's the idiot?
The market just fell down there a little bit.
Who's the idiot that said go long SICU instead of ICU at $1? Like, who is that guy? I'll tell you, he's a fool. That's who he is. Like, imagine you were trading a stock off of one level and it gave you the bounce 15 to 20% multiple times in the day. So what you do in that moment, because this is where you get really smart, right? What you do in that moment is you pivot to another stock that you have not traded throughout the day, which does absolutely nothing. That's what I'm being very facetious right now. That is a horrible mistake because you just go back to the well. SICU looked good, but really I should have just stuck with ICU. ICU was the one today. It gave you the dollar bounce multiple times. The best part about it is I was getting out when it was breaking the lows and then just jumping right back into it. I should have been into this one in the afternoon. I stopped trading it at lunchtime. That's a huge mistake. It gave you that level a couple times. This could be a 125 breakout tomorrow. Let's see what happens. It's on its, I mean, obviously it's not going to those levels on the daily. We can forget about that. But it's on its way to some resistance at like 150 possibly. But it's on one right now. So, you know, every time it finds a bid, go long in front of that dip buy. Try not to take high the day breaks because they have not been very good. Taking care of business, you're going to dehydrate yourself. I've been drinking my water. See? And what's interesting about it, and you guys don't know this.
I got to get over there.
What you guys don't know is, because Sean's always the one that hits that key, 100% of the time when that key gets hit, I drink my water.
There we go.
It's just that, it's just that I don't have the key, so you never actually see me do it, but I'm not making it up. It's been that way for at least, I don't know, Hydration Nation's been around since 2020, so for 2.5 years. I always have my water with me, and I get the reminder, and I take a sip. It's just that simple. Because we're talking all day long. Obviously, that's what you mean by that. And now we're just going to keep hitting that over and over again because it's a lot of fun. I mean, you need to keep going back to the well. Oh, that's what you meant. You actually meant keep going back to the well. No, you're right. If you have something that's working, keep going back to the well until it stops working. That's a good rule of thumb to have in trading in general. I mean, in life in general too. Like if something works for you, then just keep on doing it. If you have something that's like a word quirk that helps you remember things, then just do that. Like if you have some sort of like nonsense, like for me, like time restricted eating, I do that because it stops me from eating junk food at night. I have no idea if the science is any good with it, but I stopped eating treats after 8 o'clock because I stopped eating food after 8 o'clock. So it works for me, so I keep doing it. Tesla with a good bounce off these lows. It did make an SSR bounce, but if you remember what I was looking for, I wanted the even dollars after it went SSR, and it never even got to that 216 level we wanted. Down 9% on the day, that's pretty nasty, but it is bouncing because everything is. And shout out to just now. I saw someone posting about Roblox. I missed who it was. I saw Roblox come in the chat. I want to shout anybody out that's been pointing out Roblox for one specific reason. Roblox has been strong, relatively speaking, for a hot minute now. It's up 5% today, and I feel as if we're kind of sleeping on this. And if this breaks 32, it's got a $5 gap that it could start to fill in. So Roblox, it's been making a nice run, 25 to 32. Look at the consolidation, 30 to 32. If this can rip faces off through 32, it's got a huge move to the upside. That is a level worth watching, 100%. I'm going to be all over that tomorrow. Of course, yeah, I mean, obviously that's what ARM's going to do. Like, why not, right? You're going to bounce off 49.5. You're going to run stops at 50, and then you're going to flush back under. But I'm just happy we'll trade this thing underneath 50 bucks tomorrow. That's what I'm looking for. I want the under. I want to make sure we're trading this one on some weakness. Fundamentals don't matter, but price action does. This is giving up the ghost. Looks like that's going to be the case. There aren't as many earnings after the bell, but there's still plenty to stick around for, right? Special guest Danielle Shea today, review of the Tesla trade, review the overall markets, have a look at what sectors were weak and strong, because on days like today, when the market's down 1%, these are the extreme days that you want to find relative strength and weakness. What didn't suck today? That's what you want to consider for longs tomorrow. So that's one thing you want to do in the market recap, but for now, get the camera off me and get it on Adara, who's dressed appropriately in red on a day like today, because the countdown is on. One more day in the week. Are we getting a free fall Friday? Let's find out. In 2 and 1, ring it. And now the casino is closed. Although you guys aren't going anywhere, I want to give a shout out to everybody on the ones and twos. Ramin, Fabian doing a fantastic job as always. I always shout out the crew today, but Mark, Randy, Rob, doing a fantastic job. Rob was helping me with some PC issues live during the show that I was having. Can't say enough about these guys. The midday, killing it, as always. I mean, Sharif, Obi, Adara, everybody enjoys them. I hope you guys enjoy them and enjoy the show as well. Brennan, as always, and guest Frank, always enlightening us with knowledge, as we're always having to look at what's the Fed doing, what are rates doing, especially when you have Powell talking today and the way that treasuries have been going. You know what happens next. You're going to get off my ugly mug. We're going to head back on over to the desk. It's a market recap with Danielle Shea and your boy Sean.
Welcome to the market recap. I'm Sean Katina. Thank you so much for joining me once again here today. Wow, what a day. We were pretty happy with our trading. I hope you are happy with yours, because traders stay late. So let's